So why can't Justin play? He's busy in Korea.
He's touring the world, is my understanding of it.
I think he's in Rome right now.
They don't have fucking Wi-Fi in Rome? Come on.
It's just as well. There's going to be some combat later on at some point if we get to it, and you saw firsthand how useful he is at that, so...
So what's the RP reason that he's not there?
He's still recovering from his wounds.
He's just still in his bedroom.
He's also probably just drunk.
He's on a, bad bender.
Milk of the poppy, straight up on an opium bender.
Fuck you, Ian.
Ryder's drunk already.
I just made myself a pretty dirt
How
drink.
can you tell? No, but what is it about me? I want to be able to hide it.
Fuck you!
Just your aggressive
Yeah,
attitude.
okay, that gives it away, doesn't it? Good man, Ian. Good fucking man. Are you breaking up the Game of Thrones beer?
It's pretty good, actually. Expensive, because, you gotta pay for the licensing, but it's good. There is licorice root in this beer. I find that interesting. As stout as dark as the winters that once engulfed Westeros, as robust as the men who swear their oaths at the weirwood tree. Chocolate and caramel sweetness are balanced by hop, bitterness, roasty, woodsy notes, and an earthy finish. Pour slowly to disturb yeast sediment, but with vigor to make a luxurious head and free the bouquet.
Wow.
I, too, enjoy luxurious head.
Ryder, you're still drunk.
Now he's drunk in character, though.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, so it's a quiet afternoon in the Great Hall of Castle Highmount. Everybody's sitting around. It's been a turn of the moon since Cyrus mysteriously left suddenly to venture off to parts unknown. Alden, Edric, Tom, the Maester, everybody's seated at a large table. And suddenly the door to the Great Hall is pushed open and Cyrus himself walks in with a unfamiliar girl next to him.
Can I tell from her race that she's a Dornish girl?
Roll knowledge.
Having been to Dorne? 6.
Yeah, that's enough for you to tell.
She's half Dornish. Tom thinks to himself.
As Cyrus and Quinn approach the hall, everything kind of draws to a quiet. It was the middle of mealtime, and all eyes are now turned towards the door at Cyrus returning with the strange girl.
Alright, Tom Stone stands respectfully as they enter the room.
Alden looks at Cyrus and then looks at Quinn with gentle eyes and says, I see your trip was successful, but was it easy travels?
The roads were safe enough, brother. You'll have to excuse my exit from the melee. I'd received word back in Dorne of a bastard daughter.
And I assume this is she.
May I present to you and the young Lord Edric V, Miss Quinn Sand.
My lady, it is a pleasure to be acquainted with you.
I sort of look around the hall critically and do a polite head nod of my own.
It is a pleasure to meet you, my lady, and I apologize, I didn't catch your name. One more time.
Quinn, if the young lord pleases.
I am Edric Highmount the Fifth, nephew to my uncle that's brought you here, and son to Alden.
Oh, the young lord of such a fine house. Must keep you quite busy.
Edric will smile a little bit and look at Quinn, wondering if, not sure of her at the time, that she seems a little presumptuous. Yes, it does keep me busy. A pleasure to meet you, my lady.
Sort of smile and nod courteously.
With the introductions underway, Alden will kind of look back to Cyrus and turn to him and say, It seems we've had quite a busy weekend, brother. There have been many events here.
What news since I've been gone, Alden?
First, I thought you'd be pleased to know we seem to have recovered the Valyrian steel weapon that once was attached to this house.
Ah, the Sword of Legends. Yes, I remember Father telling us this tale as we were children. So you found it, is it true?
With the assistance of Geralt and my son, we did track down the sword's location and successfully recovered it. I wish I could say it was a smooth trip, but we did run into some resistance on the way.
Is Geralt in the room?
Oh, he's gone back to the Eyrie.
I regret that I was also not there to undertake this very important quest.
He kind of holds his hand out and gestures at Quinn and says, No, brother, you had far more important undertakings undertakings to have.
Where's the sword now, brother?
With that, he pulls the sword from its holster at his waist and reveals a magnificent Valyrian steel weapon. Its steel seems to shimmer under the light, and there are telltale ripples in it that hint as to its quality. He holds it aloft in two hands and passes it to Cyrus to examine.
I'll step forward and accept the blade. Ah, yes, a very, very fine craft indeed, brother. You mentioned resistance along the way.
We encountered a small group of bandits that seemed extremely persistent in their wishes to recover the sword for themselves. One of them has taken the black, the others did not survive.
Do we know which house they came from? How did they come to know of this blade?
They overheard us discussing it in a bar. We should have been more pertinent in our discussions. I don't think they were associated with any particular house. An assortment of rabble. No markings, no sigils.
And Father, let me take personal responsibility. It was my fault. I spoke too broadly in the bar. But Uncle Cyrus, let me tell you, as soon as we recovered this sword, as soon as I saw something with such majesty and such history, it reminded me what this house stands for, and where we're going to go, and how we're going to achieve the things that we have always wanted to achieve. And it sounds over the top, but to be honest, I feel like I became the man that I wanted to be as soon as Father and I found this blade.
Tom Stone sort of sarcastically raises his glass to cheers that thought.
What matters is that you are both okay and that you've recovered the blade. And Cyrus will step forward and put a hand on his nephew's shoulder.
I will put a hand on Cyrus's shoulder as well. Uncle, it is good to see you again.
And you, young Edric, I am eager to continue our battle practices.
I feel like I'm getting a bit rusty, Uncle. It'll be good to practice again.
If you are to eventually wield this Valyrian steel blade, then you should know how to wield it well. I can teach you the techniques that you need.
No question about that, Uncle. And wielding this Valyrian sword won't come for a long time, as Father will be having it for many decades to come.
Alden kind of gives off a wistful smile and says, "Don't worry, son. In time, this blade will be yours. I hope you'll have been a just leader by then."
And when that time comes, Father, there will be no greater honor. Thank you. But aside from all these pleasantries, where's the wine?
A servant, overhearing Edric's loud proclamation, comes over and refills his glass, so he may continue to drink joyously. Alden resheaths the blade and turns to Tom Stone now and says, "And Tom, I hear there was an incident this weekend?"
Perhaps my lord's brother and his girl should sit down before I give my news.
I was beginning to wonder, where is Master Heavy Pockets?
Master
Yes.
Heavy Pockets happens to be infirmed at the moment. He is confined to his quarters. He took a grievous injury and has spent a day unconscious.
A grievous injury? Too many nips at the bottle?
A few nips with the bottle and one with an axe, my lord.
I wish I could say it was something as simple alcohol, however. When we returned from our voyage to collect the weapon, I came back to find that Tom, his hound, and Glenshire had all been in some sort of altercation. I was hoping I might hear more of it.
I went with Glenshire as his escort to Barth's Tavern. Someone had killed Barth and raped and killed the girls. Me and my dog found the trail. It was fresh enough to track. Heavy Pockets came along, led to an inn owned by Alden Taverner. We were asking about, found a suspicious man, and he came out of Saxon End. He was a Crag from Pike, the red bastard. Heavy Pockets got cut up, was there pretty quick. I got out myself, but I got the bastard in the end. His body's with the maester. You can go down and see it if you like.
You mean to tell me that Barth is dead?
Dead and burned, my lord.
And Tom Stone takes out the dagger with the scallop shell on it and throws it onto the table.
Cyrus will pick it up, and recognizing it as House Craig's symbol, he will look over at Alden, giving him a stern look and just kind of nodding, knowing where the blade came from.
There's no question. We've been attacked outright by House Crag. Something must be done.
From the opposite end of the table is Tom Snow, and Maester Gregory sort of clears his throat and pipes up. House Crag, it's unlikely they have attacked us outright. I do believe the man which you became acquainted, Tom Stone, is Gunnar Pike, also known as the Red Bastard. He is one of the 7 bastards of House Crag. They are a tight-knit house, and they treasure their family. Gunnar was the bastard son of the Lord of Crag and his concubine, a lady of House Harlaw, if I'm not mistaken.
Perhaps we've not seen the last of House Crag. With one bastard dead, sure enough they'll be wanting vengeance. You know what they nearly did to you, brother, during the Greyjoy rebellions.
I remember all too well. My good friend was injured in that attack. Rickard Ashling. It's thanks to the two of you that I'm even alive.
We should have finished them when we had the chance, brother.
War is war, Cyrus. War is done. We must both continue to go our separate ways. Remember, if a house were to be extinguished for grievous acts of its ancestors, we may not be here at all.
It doesn't seem like they have gone their separate way, my lord.
Clearly they still hold some sort of disdain for our house.
We cannot presume as to their intents. If this is a bastard of Crag, perhaps he is acting independently of his house. We should not leap to conclusions.
We cannot let this happen again. Your life, your son's life, depends on it.
As the man died at my blade, he said that it was just the beginning. I don't know if that just means we have 6 other bastards to contend with or their entire house, but it was more than just one incident.
What are the circumstances that led to his death, Tom Stone? Why is he not in shackles in our dungeon right now?
'Cause he didn't stop swinging that axe of his until he was dead.
Surely you could have disabled the man.
I disabled him and he was coughing up blood, told me those last words, and then he perished. I brought you his body at least, and I saved your Master of Coin's life.
And for that shall be appreciative, Tom.
You
That
should
is
be.
what we pay you to do, is it not, Tom Stone?
Not directly. You pay me to catch you food we're eating here today, look after the dogs. These other things are extra.
Your service to House Highmount should be paramount, coin or not. You were tasked with protecting Glenshire Heavy Pockets. Now I return to the castle to find that he is bedridden with a mortal wound.
I saved his life. When he's up, he should tell you the same.
And what if that had been Edric? As Cyrus slams the table with a fist.
If it was Edric, he would have been able to hold his own. Glenshire ran at the man. You should have seen him. He had a knife, jumped into the fight, was down in 1-8. If it
And
wasn't
you failed to stop that blade that nearly killed him. I will not risk that kind of...
Quiet! Alden slams his fist down at the table. I'll have civility at this meeting. We are family and friends. We are not meant to be at each other's throats.
I'm sorry, my lord.
Uncle Cyrus only means to defend the house and show how much it means to him.
I understand that, son. And then locking eyes with Cyrus, he says, And brother, you know I appreciate your presence here.
Perhaps it was my mistake to leave myself absent of this house for as long as I have.
As I've already said, you had much more pressing matters to attend to. With that, he kind of turns to Quinn and says, I must apologize, my lady. It seems that you have a rather fiery welcoming.
There is no need to apologize, my lord. I am simply happy to be here in this great house, where people care so diligently for each other.
Yes, perhaps Quinn will prove herself to be more useful of a bastard, and Cyrus will lock eyes with Tom Stone.
Tom Stone will just stare right back at him through his mask.
And excuse my ignorance, Uncle Cyrus, and Quinn, and father for that matter, but I do not understand your presence, Quinn. Why have you joined us?
I've never seen this great countryside. I've been in Dorne my entire life, and when my father appeared to me as almost an angel to rescue me from that life that I had there, I had no other option but to come and see your beautiful country and become part of this beautiful house.
Well, that's worthy reason enough. Welcome again, Quinn. If I can do anything to show you around this beautiful countryside and the wonderful people we have here in House Highmount and beyond, please let me know.
I do wish to see more of it. I hope to take you up on that offer soon.
And Uncle Cyrus, how was the travel from Dorne, is it?
Uneventful, nephew. Not much news along the way. Just glad to be back.
Like father said, it sounds like it's much better than our search for the Valerian steel sword. We had anything but an uneventful journey, didn't we, father?
He looks at Edric and nods.
I'm more interested to hear about the tale of Bath's murder.
I tend to agree. Tom, what is it you can tell us? What happened?
Bath had lost the girls. Me and Glenshire acquired new girls for him. Then we were going to check back up, make sure Bath paid his tariff. When we arrived, the whole place was in flames.
Paid his tariff.
Yeah, Heavy Pockets worked out that Bath would pay Heavy Pockets and the house some money because we were the one that acquired the new girls.
He what?
Oh, I'm sorry, my lord. I thought you were on the same page as your Master of Coin. I'm sure he had plans to inform you of it when he's on his feet.
I am sure he did, and I'm sure we'll have a frank discussion of it.
It's all probably written out nice in the books for you.
No matter. Continue, Tom.
As I was saying, Bath, he was burned. I found the knife, all the girls were slaughtered. It's like I said, we came upon the bastard, we fought him, he admitted to it, and said there was more coming.
And why was the bastard here in the first place?
He didn't say. My guess is some sort of revenge.
From the end of the table, Maester Gregory pipes up. Perhaps it was happenstance. These things do happen.
He said there was more coming, Maester. I heard it. It was his last words. You tend to remember something like that.
How many men did he have with him, Tom Stone?
He was alone. Just him in his white armor. He got the drop on both of us, but I took care of it.
The maester pipes up once more. Ah, yes, white armor, of course. It says that he wears whalebones into battle, and the name the Red Bastard, of course, comes from the color of the armor when he leaves battle.
Yes, you said, Maester. It gets all bloody and red. Well, who really cares now? He's dead. We don't have to tell his legend anymore.
I am part of this house to share my knowledge, and if you would be so trite as to interrupt me with that, Alden raises a hand and kind of interrupts the maester and says, Maester, we all appreciate what you do here, but there are more pertinent things to discuss. I am sorry, but I would appreciate your reserved commentary for the rest of the conversation. And the maester nods. Alden gestures for Tom Stone to continue.
That's about it. I came upon him. Those were his last words. He's dead. I came back and I told the maester, and he said there was some history between the house and House Craig.
Alden locks eyes with Cyrus and exclaims, History indeed.
Brother, we cannot take this threat lightly. I say we double the patrols out in the countryside. We cannot afford to be taken by surprise if House Craig decides to mount an attack against Highmount.
House Craig is located in the Iron Islands. I trust that with that, the amount that they'd have to travel inland or through the Vale itself would give us sufficient warning to any moves they may be making on us.
If the Red Bastard was able to come into our countryside undetected, perhaps the other bastards will seek to do the same.
Especially now that one of them is dead, that's certainly a possibility. It was the fact that the Red Bastard was alone that I believe he was able to go undetected, possibly passing as some hedge knight or sellsword. Who can tell?
Put yourself in their shoes, brother. If it was you who had died, I would certainly go to avenge your death. There is no way that I would leave that deed unpunished. Which is again why I am chastising Tom Stone for being so stupid as to kill the man instead of taking him prisoner.
Could have taken him prisoner if I wasn't alone. It was more important, I thought, to get me and Heavy Pockets out alive.
You were not alone. You were with Glenshire Heavy Pockets and that damned hound that follows you around.
Yeah, and my hound has a lifelong scar because of that. You should show it more respect.
Don't you tell Uncle what respect he should show, Tom.
A scar is the least that that damn dog should have come out of that battle with. Glenshire Heavy Pockets almost died. We do not have another head for coin such as his. Losing him would be a great travesty for House Highmount.
Well, at least he still has both his ears.
And you are lucky, Tom Stone, that you still have your life.
Tom Stone stands up and he takes a piece of meat and he says,
Would it suit my lords if I could take some of this meat back to my dog? I've told you what you need to know. If you have no more for me, then perhaps I should just depart.
Yes, I've got a taste for some turkey, Tom Stone. Why don't you and your damned hound go out into the forest and fetch us some?
Alden raises a hand to Cyrus as if to show, please respect this person. And turns to Tom and says, Tom, you may take your leave. However, I would wish you back in the hallway, for we do have business matters to discuss.
and Tom Stone just nods and he leaves with some meat in his hand.
Alden turns back to Cyrus and says, Cyrus, I know you have your disagreements with the man, but Tom has proven himself again and again for this house. You of all people should know that.
I leave for 1 month. He had one job to stand in to protect the countryside, and clearly he has failed, brother.
And if it weren't for me, one of House Crag would have struck me down. If it weren't for you, I could be dead. We know what this house is like. Even the bastards, I'm sure, are fierce. If only half as fierce, it's more than enough we need to worry about. For one of them to knock down Master Heavy Pockets, it's not impossible, especially given the man's... He pauses for a moment as if to consider the words, and says, physique.
As you hold the bastard in such high regard, brother, I'm sure that my daughter Quinn will fit in perfectly here. I expect there will be no troubles with her.
We're a house founded of bastards, brother. What house would it be if we were to turn them away?
Then let us welcome another one.
Alden turns to Quinn and says, I must apologize again for the nature of the conversation this evening. I'm sure you had much more glamorous things in mind when you came with your father to the Vale.
It is of no matter to me. I'm simply happy to be here, and I understand all houses have their disagreements.
And with that, let us not let Quinn enter without a little bit of celebration. Let us all have a drink. And this is to welcome the most illustrious and beautiful Quinn. Welcome into House Highmount. And with that, I will raise a glass.
Cyrus will also pour himself a glass and raise it.
Likewise, Alden and Maester Gregory will take a small sip of his wine, but he's not much of the taste of alcohol, so...
to House Highmount's future and returning back to the glorious state we were in once before.
I grab a glass and, with a slight half smile, I raise it and, to my gracious hosts, I hope that I can give as much to this house as I feel it gives to the realm. Take a sip.
Alden raises his glass and says, "Here, here," and then has a drink.
Cyrus raises his glass and, uttering the house words, he says, "Honor guide us," and takes a sip.
Honor guide us, Uncle.
Honor guide us. With the festivities carrying on, then everybody's having their drinks, and at some point during the evening, Alden will gesture for Cyrus to approach him so they can talk in private.
I will do so.
Everybody else just RP amongst yourselves.
Okay. So Quinn, tell me a bit more of Dorne.
It's a beautiful country with, well, desert as far as the eye can see, as I'm sure you've guessed. Some people would call it a barren land. This may sound silly to a lord as yourself, but sun rises some morning. It looks as though the landscape can stretch on forever and the sand blends in to the horizon. And I just think how lucky I am from a place of such spectacular beauty.
Well said, my lady. I must be honest with you, because we're in my own home. I haven't had the most favorable disposition of Dorne in the past. Some of the Dornish people I've met have been quite off-putting, to be honest. So it is a pleasure to meet a lady of your stature and beauty.
Yes, I'm afraid I must agree with you. Some of the men and women as well in Dorne, we have a reputation for being quite hot-blooded, and I'm afraid it's well-deserved. Not always the easiest to get along with, I'm afraid to say. I try to go against that stereotype as much as possible. I like to think of myself as quite easy to get along with.
But may I ask you a question, dear Quinn? Is this sort of luxurious house, this sort of company, this sort of wine, is this unknown to you? Have you ever experienced anything like this before?
Well, my lord, I have spent quite a bit of time in Sunspear for my uncle who raised me. He enjoyed Sunspear much more than our own house, for, as you say, the class, the wine, the company, but nothing quite as fine as you have here, of course, my lord.
Something tells me you're being a little more generous of tongue than you otherwise would be unless you were in my presence, but nonetheless I do appreciate the pleasantries, don't get me wrong.
The young lord is quite understanding. I must admit, I perhaps am being a little courteous. It is still the truth. You have quite fine wine here and quite fine halls. It has been a pleasure so far to be here, albeit short.
And I appreciate your honesty there. As the older folk have left the room, what is your true impression of this? Are you happy to come here with Uncle Cyrus?
I will miss home, but I feel like I've learned all that I can learn from being in Sunspear, and I guess my father came along right at a great time for me because I was looking for something more, something different, something else. This gave me a perfect opportunity to pursue that interest and hopefully learn something new, maybe teach you a couple of tricks of my own.
I have no doubt about that, especially with your father being Cyrus. He has taught me almost everything I know with my longsword. You are very lucky to have him as your father.
Although I don't know that much about him, I do believe that to be true. From what I've seen on our trip back, he is a most honorable man, and I do believe that he did my mother right, and from what I've heard spoken of him, especially in Sunspear and in Dorne, is always favorable. No one had any ill will towards him whatsoever.
Pleasure to hear that, and I do understand the position of bastards, to put it lightly, but of man of Cyrus's stature, you truly are lucky to have Highmount blood.
Couldn't agree more with you. I've been lucky in, as you say, my bastard position, especially being of Dorne, treated, how should I put it, differently. I am very proud to have Highmount blood run through my veins.
I can't tell you how happy I am to hear all this. I am distrusting of people with the color of skin as you may have, to be honest. But nonetheless, I do appreciate you saying how grateful you are to be here, and I do appreciate what lays before my eyes. With that, let me raise one more glass. I'll pour some more wine, fill up my glass. I'll walk over to Quinn and fill up her glass. Drink up, my lady.
I could not be more pleased by your words, and I'm glad that we've had this chance to talk more one-on-one. Thank you for the drink.
Of course, my lady, and trust me, there will be plenty more. For that came from, you are not in Dorne any longer. Where did father and uncle go?
Well, you know how the old folk will get. Just talk for hours, will they not?
Good man, Tom. Good man.
And then he has to go fucking like hunt a turkey now, so he's just thinking like, oh god, I gotta go fucking like night hunt a turkey.
I was talking to Kenny when he went and got another drink. He slammed his fist. He's in the next room to me. And he's like, what about Edric? And he slammed his fist.
That's so badass.
So fucking pissed.
Alden gestures you over to converse in private.
I will approach him.
Glass of wine in hand, Alden says, I'm sorry that we must get to house business so soon, especially since young Quinn has yet to be with us long. However, there are pressing issues at hand. I take it you recall the crime issues in our holding?
Indeed I do, brother. It was with a heavy heart that I left the tournament to Dorne to pick up Quinn, knowing that I would be leaving the Highmount lands without its Castellan and captain of the guard. Based on what has happened with Master Heavypockets and the bastard Tom Stone, I do regret leaving. Things seem to be falling apart in my absence.
Banditry has always been a problem in our holdings. The mountain tribes, various bandits. The fact that we're outside the Bloody Gate is of no help either. We're not afforded the true protection the Mountains of the Moon provide. Lately, there's been word that bandit raids have stepped up. It leads me to believe that perhaps one of the hill tribes themselves has taken up residence in our holdings.
Pushing into our lands? How bad is it, brother?
They've increased several-fold the bandit raids. It's strange. The bandits we're dealing with, they don't seem to kill their victims. There's been several cases where wandering travelers or farmers have been attacked and left alive. Well, their ears have been severed from their heads.
What kind of barbarism is this?
From what we've gathered from survivors, the bandits involved have commented, only a coward would fear fighting the same person twice. With that, they leave the prey alive and take their ears as trophies.
What have the small folk done in retaliation of this?
They're frightened, Cyrus. They have come to me for protection, and I'm inclined to give it to them. They've raised their concerns, and I've heard them.
And what have we done to date?
That's what I intend to discuss with you. I would like you to lead a scouting party. See if you can find this bandit's camp, and bring me the head of its leader.
Do we know what sort of numbers they carry?
Although the attacks seem frequent, it could be the number of a small group working in tandem or several scouting parties.
Where nature fails, brother, I shall stand as the bastion of defense for Castle Highmount. I will do what the mountains cannot and throw those bastards back to the realm in which they came.
He gestures over to Maester Gregory to approach. Alden turns to the Maester. He says, Maester, tribes that take the ears as trophy, what do you know of this? Pondering for a moment, Maester Gregory turns to the both of you and he says, sounds like it's most likely the Black Ears, Tribe of the Mountains of the Moon. Can't recall the name of the leader, but saucy fellow, tribal system. Raid several cities, they take what weapons and armor they can find, and they're not a pleasant bunch. Alden turns back to me and says, thank you, Maester, and dismisses him.
Why is it that they press into our lands?
Possibly because of our small holdings. It is slightly harder for us to defend ourselves. They're opportunistic, I believe. They will go from land to land, sweeping up what they can muster and taking, killing. You know how bandits operate, Cyrus.
I know how they operate, brother, and I know how to defeat them. How many men shall you be granting me on this task?
If we can avoid attracting undue attention, that's all the better. I'd like you to take Tom Stone with you, and I'd like you to take my son. It's time he knows the dirty work involved in maintaining our lands, as well as the dangers that threaten our very homes.
I will protect him with my life, brother, you know this. As for the bastard Tom Stone, perhaps I can show him what honor truly is.
Keep in mind, Tom has done his duty for this house.
He still has yet to prove it to me, though he may have proven it to you, brother. I require a little more convincing.
Nods at you in understanding, knowing your nature and knowing that you're very committed to loyalty.
And what of Master Heavypockets?
Maester has been attending to his wounds. He says he should make a full recovery, however he is delirious at the moment. I suspect milk of the poppy or alcohol may have something to do with that.
Then I shall leave him to his rehabilitation and have a conversation with him upon our safe return.
I shall be eager to have a conversation with him myself, especially given the indiscretions that Tom has brought to light.
As you said, brother, we are not all without fault.
Agreed. Anyway, I'll have you select your scouting party, whomever you seem fit. You shall have 2 or 3 guards, however, like I said, the smaller the better.
I understand, brother, that discretion is of the utmost importance. It is the skill of the men that are worth more than the numbers. It will be a small party, I promise you that.
He gives you a nod of understanding and says, now, come on, let's return to the revelry. And you rejoin the group.
We had some good RP over here.
I'm just gonna go grab another beer, I'll be back.
Oh, I'm gonna go drain myself.
2-minute break.